What is going on, everybody out there? Lamont on the run today. We're in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I got a question to ask any and everybody out there watching right now. Who's going to be the first YouTube cemetery douchebag to visit the grave of Charlie Kirk? I mean, I don't feel I really need to tell you who Charlie Kirk was. He was I guess I would call him a conservative pundit, talking person, gave his opinion, did debates around the country with college kids. And one furry-loving trans weirdo, freakazoid, Tyler Robinson, 22 years of age, who, by the way, is going to have the next 30 years are going to be very hellish for that young man. And so, of course, it looks like Tyler Robinson is the one that is responsible. They did find his DNA on the weapon that was used to take Charlie Kirk's life. And so, before I start guessing who's going to be the YouTube, or basically social media cemetery douchebag, who I am one of them. I've been a part of the club for about 7 years now. And so, you have a lot of people saying some really, really vile, rotten things about Charlie Kirk's death, his assassination. People celebrating, saying that it's a great thing that he's dead. Saying stupid things, insensitive things. One of the first guys that lost his job for opening his mouth was the MSNBC pundit person, Matthew Dowd, who, by the way, is the former media strategist for one George W. Devil Bush. So that kind of tells you what kind of clown this doofus is. By the way, guys, don't forget, George W. is responsible for thousands of men losing their lives in Iraq. We should have never went to that country to begin with, just my personal opinion. Anyways, so Matthew Dowd, however you pronounce his name, who really cares? He got fired because he basically blamed Kirk for his own death, stating that his own rhetoric caused Tyler Robinson to kill him. Quote, "Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions. You can't stop with these sort of awful thoughts. You have then saying these awful words, then not expecting awful actions to take place." So the network, MSDNC, then basically fired him very, very quickly, and they generated an AI response saying that they don't condone his words. And then later on, little Matthew tried to walk back his words. He tried to retract his words slightly after getting fired. He says, quote, "I apologize for my tone and words. Let me be clear, I in no way intended for my comments to blame Kirk for this horrendous attack. Let us all come together and condemn violence of any kind." Well, dude, why didn't you just say that crap in the first place? Why didn't you just say that and leave it alone instead of blaming somebody who was brutally and horrifically murdered in front of his wife? Why don't you just say that? Why don't you just say, okay, I disagree with him, end of discussion? But that is not all. We also have this woman right here, 18-year-old Cameron Giselle Booker, a Texas Tech student down in Lubbock, Texas. She was recorded jumping around, yelling at her fellow classmates when they were having a little prayer circle thing for, paying tribute to Charlie Kirk's memory. And so she starts jumping around like a ghetto hyena, saying, quote, "F y'all homie dead, he got shot in the head." And then she proceeds to repeat that over and over and over again. And then there's a man in a red MAGA hat who basically starts filming her. And then he says, quote, on the video, "Evil is real, people," and it kind of looks like this. So they start getting into a heated debate, discussion, and then she walks by him and kind of like slaps his cap up, kind of tilting it off his head slightly. Well, she did that in front of a couple of cops. So that is technically assault, even though I feel you know, it's a little bit light on the assault, but it's still assault nonetheless. So she was arrested. She kind of looks sad while she's being arrested, and her booking photo is a little bit, she looks like she doesn't really know what took place. So she was arrested and charged with assault. She'll probably be put on probation for about a year, but she was expelled from the school. Now, I'm going to say this. I disagree with her being expelled. I think that's a little too far. She's very, very, very stupid. So people like that, I feel they need to stay in school. So maybe when they leave, they're not quite as stupid. But then again, you know, universities are now bastions for left-wing weird nutcases such as that. So I don't think there's any help for her at all. You know, 18, maybe you're very, very stupid. Maybe when you're 25, your brain starts forming. I disagree with her getting expelled. Maybe that'll be reversed. Maybe the university will say like, okay, look, she's stupid. You know, and I mean, if she would have punched him in his face, like squared, like cocked him in his face, then yeah, okay, expel her. But to tip the cap, yeah, I'm not in on that one. I think you just maybe suspend her for a school year, kick her out of school for a year. I don't know. Hopefully she'll get knocked up and pregnant by a gangbanger, and you know, maybe she'll create her own loser life. Who knows? Anyways, what about this freakazoid right here? Look at this. You know, at first, when I first seen this person, this thing, when I first seen Dit's picture, I thought it was one of those Animorphs. I don't know what those things like chairs and coffee tables. And then I was like, no, I know what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking about that character from Star Trek. Kind of looks alike, sort of, yeah, kind of a little bit. Anyway, so Chelsea King, who identifies as a transgender woman, which, by the way, there is no such thing as a transgender woman. That doesn't exist. That's not a word. That's a made-up word. That's not a thing. Okay? Hey, women, ladies out there listening to me right now, are you in favor of people like this? By the way, this person is a Team USA women's cyclist. Are you in favor of guys taking over women's jobs and positions on sports teams? I'm just kind of curious. Anyway, so Chelsea King. Oh my God. Hey, I don't care if you're gay or straight. Can you imagine opening up your eyes every day in bed and waking up next to that? Are you serious? Are you really that hard up and desperate for affection and love? I think you can do better, whatever life form is going to be dating this thing. Anyways, so Chelsea King on some kind of Twitter or something stated, quote, about Charlie Kirk's death, quote, being a Nazi is completely optional, by the way. He didn't have to do all that, and now he's dead. Don't live your life in a way that the world is better following your death. Now, the world is not better following his death. The world is actually quite sad, and it's quite dark, and it's quite pathetic. And all because you have a severe mental illness, and that a man who was an opponent against your guys' rhetoric has been killed. There'll be someone there to replace him. As a matter of fact, now more than ever, people are going to start looking on social media for right-wing conservatives going to campuses. There will be another Charlie Kirk, not figuratively, not a person like him, but you just created like 1,000 new Charlie Kirks that are just going to go to campuses and with a camera phone and a gimbal and a friend, and they'll hold a camera and talk to these idiots and these weirdos with these left-wing ideologies. Yeah, Chelsea King. Anyway, so getting in on the Charlie Kirk bashing fest is this person right here. This person right here is called Ava Rain. This is The Rock's daughter. Now, at first, when I first seen this picture, I said, okay, somebody's making fun of her. And they're kind of doing the whole picture thing where they're morphing The Rock and her together to make like this funny, you know how when Conan O'Brien, what he used to do those skits, If They Mated? I thought this was it, but no, she actually looks like that. Okay, well, hey, listen, we can't all be beautiful now, can we? So The Rock's daughter, who is a wrestler in the WWE, which I never even knew, I never heard of her. I didn't know that he had a daughter or a son that looks like a daughter, whatever this thing is. Anyway, so The Rock The Rock's, let's just call it The Rock's daughter, because I can't get how much she looks, or it looks, or whatever it is, she looks like The Rock. It's kind of scary. Those are one of the cases where you don't want to be born looking like your dad. I mean, The Rock is a handsome guy, but if you have a daughter, you don't want the daughter looking like The Rock. Anyway, so she says online, quote, "If you want people to have kind words when you pass, you should say kind words when you're alive." Okay, not terrible. She wasn't like celebrating his death, but definitely she is, anti Charlie Kirk for sure. And then she starts getting pushback on social media, and she doubles down. She says, quote, "I'll stand behind this. Be kind, no more than ever. He looks like one of them." Well, I don't know what the hell that's supposed to mean. Be kind, rewind. They used to charge you 50 cents back in the day for not rewinding your video cassettes. Anyway, so listen. You have some people who have said some really, really mean and awful things about Charlie Kirk's death. But the question remains, who's going to be the douche nozzle that's going to go to his grave? Now, we got to talk about this really quick, because right now, they flew his body back to Arizona. That is where he lived. And they're having a rally for Charlie Kirk. Now, here's the question. Where do you bury somebody like that who I had no idea how many people hated him? I had no clue. And you can't put him in a regular cemetery. You just can't. Somebody like that needs to be in a private mausoleum that's constructed solely for him, and then it would be constructed for his wife later on after she passes, hopefully of a very, very old age. And if they want to be buried, the kids together with him. So I'd imagine they would build like quite a huge family mausoleum. Now, it would be very, very expensive. We're talking about at least $1.5 million for something like this. But they had a lot of money. They had pretty good money. Charlie Kirk was a multimillionaire. He was worth about $12 million right at around the time of his death. That's what it stated anyways. I mean, who the hell knows? But you could do that, or you could bury him in a very, very secret location that nobody would ever find out. But whoever the D-bag that does the video, I will be all for them doing it, as long as they're not a leftist liberal, weirdo. If it's a conservative person on social media, then they should be the only ones that are allowed to do the video, not some stupid D-bag leftist weirdo. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know. I don't know if that's a video that I would get on a plane and fly to do. I don't know. I think right now, everything is still kind of raw and people are still kind of sad. Well, unless you're a garbage far left activist, and I guess you're happy or something. I don't know. Those people are crazy. This whole transgender thing, I don't know. I honestly feel they are mentally ill, and they need to seek help, maybe seek Jesus or a good, strong medication. Who the hell knows? But I don't know. Let's see who's going to be the first TikToker, Instagrammer, YouTuber, Facebooker, whatever. The first person, maybe Scoops, to get the scoop on where Charlie Kirk is going to be laid to rest. Okay, guys. Well, it looks like my van is done. I just got all new tires on it. So I'm now going to go get my van and retire to my motel. And then within a matter of only a couple days, I will be back in my trailer. All right, guys. I'll catch up with you later. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. Peace out.